Hi besties. So I have a bunch of books that are the most bingeable books. I read most of these, if not all of these, in one singular day. I had so much fun with them. So if you're looking to get out of a slump, if you're looking for a pool book, if you're looking for a beach book, if you're looking for a book to read in a day, if you're looking for a book to read in a weekend, these are the books that will grab you by the throat and have you in a chokehold the entire time. We'll start with Heartless Hunter. There is a similar theme through some of these books, so maybe I'll start with those first, but we will start with Heartless Hunter. The suspense in this book alone, the pages will in fact turn themselves. It's giving a hunter-hunted situation, except she's very aware of who is hunting her, and he has no idea who he's hunting besides this alias. Gideon is hunting the Crimson Moth. It is this moonlighting witch that's saving other witches. Witches in this world are persecuted viciously, families are ripped apart. It's not a good thing. So he's after the Crimson Moth. He is part of this like armed guard, armed task force to hunt down this person that's causing so much trouble. Rune is a very cunning, very sneaky girly. She is our Crimson Moth. But she keeps her alias very well hidden because she is a girly pop of high society, is a socialite. She goes to all of these functions. She knows exactly who to look out for. And then it's this really fun game of cat and mouse. Highly, highly recommend this. The second book is coming out in 2025, but I promise you, you will mark it in your calendar for when the second book is getting released. Now, this next series is similar to Heartless Hunter. I'm not really gonna tell you how/why because I don't want it to be spoilery, but just know it's similar to Heartless Hunter, and that is Powerless and Reckless by Lauren Roberts. I read each of these books in a day. I read Powerless in a day, and then as soon as Reckless came out on July 2nd, I ran to Barnes & Noble, I picked it up, I read it in a day. Kai and Peyton train together, they fist fight each other, and I love every second of it. It is knife to the throat. Cliffies that will leave you absolutely breathless. The ending of this one had me breathless, the ending of this one had me breathless, and now the third book and the final book is coming out April of 2025. I literally cannot wait. So we have another main character who is, this isn't the spoilery similarity between Heartless Hunter, but now that I'm thinking about it, our main character in this one, Peyton, is a magicless person in a magical world. People in this world who are not magical are persecuted. They're blamed for this sickness, this plague that ravaged their world. Most people who survived from the plague gained magical powers. There are some who did not gain magical powers. Peyton is one of those people, so she has to stay in hiding. Otherwise, they will execute her. Enter Kai. He is the crowned prince. He is also the enforcer. He is tasked with finding and hunting down non-magical people and killing them. But Peyton's really good at keeping her secret. She claims to have a kind of like psychic ability. She can read people really well. It allows her to fly under the radar until she saves Kai, the crowned prince, from this brawl in the street. He becomes infatuated with her, obviously, because she is a baddie queen. And somehow she gets roped into this deadly competition of like young magical people in the society. And she not only has to survive these trials, but continue to hide the fact that she's non-magical when the spotlight is literally on her. Just know that book one wasn't my favorite, book two makes it worth it. And I hate when people tell me that, but in this case, it's very, very true. The romance is worth it, even though the plot in the first one kind of struggles. The second book makes up for it. I have two more books that have similar suspense, similar romance setups as Heartless Hunter and as Powerless. I promise you this video is not if you read this and liked this, read this. It's not that, it's just kind of working out that way. The next bingeable book that you will literally want to read in one sitting, The Veiled Kingdom by Holly Renee. Holly Renee writes incredibly spicy, high tension romance. The Veiled Kingdom is no exception. He's hunting an enemy princess. Little does he know that this enemy princess ran away and accidentally found herself in the rebellion. Dacker is a rebellion commander. So he has no idea who she is. She knows exactly who he is because he is training her. In a world where love and hate are two edges of the same blade, I find myself caught in a delicate dance between forbidden desire and my looming destiny. He also calls her Little Traitor. Spice is like maybe a 3 or a 4 spicy pepper. The tension and the edging will keep you turning the pages. And then last one that's along this same vein, this has a crazy power dynamic between our love interests. It's also a game of cat and mouse, except for the majority of the book you can't really tell. You just see like the power dynamic that's going on, and then all of a sudden it switches and you're like, that is not what I was expecting. Our main character in this, her name is Flea. She has been unwanted for 20 years. She's a changeling. She's been taken care of by this guardian who absolutely hates her because her guardian is human. Her human daughter got snatched away from her by the fairy folk and replaced with Flea, our changeling. And so she's had a very difficult, traumatic, abusive upbringing. Little do we know, the abuse isn't going to stop. Through certain circumstances, she gets introduced to this dark fae who offers to help her. All she wants to learn about is her family, where she came from. She feels so alone in this world, wanted, unloved. So as you would want to learn some answers, you would want to learn where your family is, and you would want to feel love. He offers her a bargain. Of course, if she goes to Fairy and marries him, he will help her find the secrets of her family and her past. We have an extremely innocent, almost a girl who is just begging to be taken advantage of, and then we have an ancient fairy man who steps into her life and does exactly that. This is a love interest who is a true villain all the way through. It definitely gets dark. I would look up content warnings for this one. The spice, one of the spiciest books I've ever read, in the best way. Also, you will be questioning your sanity and your mental state because this love interest is so toxic. There's no judgment here though, bestie, because the same thing happened to me. I was reading this like, am I okay? And then one page later, I was like, I literally don't care if I'm okay. This is a duology. It's on Kindle Unlimited as well, so you could absolutely binge this first book and then go right along and binge the second book, which is called Wrath of the Damned. While we're on the topic of Kindle Unlimited, let's just talk about a couple Kindle Unlimited recommendations. Kiss of Iron by Claire Sager is so bingeable. Now, you're probably saying, this is like a 680 page book. Tori, what are you absolutely talking about? Or have you lost your mind? I promise you I haven't. I promise you it's worth it. It will not feel like the length that it is. The beginning starts off a little bit weird. So I hate when people tell me this, but I'm going to say it here. If you get through the first 10 to 15% of this book, the pages will turn themselves after that. Actually, your Kindle will tap itself. This is a like Regency / historical inspired. I will say it's not a traditional Regency because it does take place with some fairy involved, and the fae folk love their debauchery. This has so much debauchery. You are running around this palace during this deadly competition with humans and fae folk. Our main character is a human. She has to enter into this competition to try to save her estate. She has no money. She has fallen on some very tough times. This is her way out. She's pulled into court, and she's also tasked by the spy master of the human court to spy on this fairy who loves fiery redheads. So not only is she trying to win this competition, she's also spying on our love interest, who introduces her to some new things, we'll say. I wouldn't call this a slow burn, however, their romance doesn't truly develop in terms of their feelings for each other until the second book. So it is spicy in a way that's a lot of teasing, it's a lot of tension, nothing truly happens between them in this whole first book. Maybe towards the end a little bit. The spice in this series is chef's kiss, top notch, 10 out of 10, was eating up every page. It's very, very high stakes because the entire time you're just wondering, is our human girly going to survive this? Next, I'm going to talk about Spindles and Thorns. This is also on Kindle Unlimited. This is a Regency mixed with steampunk. if that right off the bat doesn't pull you in, I don't think this book would be for you. However, if that seems like it's right up your alley, you will love this book. It's extremely atmospheric. It is a more sweet and romantic fantasy romance. You will not see how dark and twisty the end of this book gets. Your heart will hurt. This book is a novella as well, so naturally the pacing is a little bit faster. You can absolutely binge this book in one sitting, just like I did. Our main character in this one is getting pressured to find a husband. There's only one person that she's even relatively interested, because in this world, all of the men are so boring. So our main character is like, you're a clown, absolutely the fuck not. Except she finally finds this one boy. Her competition to court this man is Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria is the Queen of England. So what she wants and who she wants, she's gonna get. So our girly pep has some stiff competition. However, Queen Victoria and this man literally tells our female main character, I'm not into her, I'm into you. It is a Sleeping Beauty retelling slash spin-off. So Aurora has a twin brother. The whole time we are worried about the twin brother. Their relationship is super cute. If you like a brother-sister dynamic in a book, you will really enjoy this one. My last Kindle Unlimited that I will talk about is actually Lady of Darkness. This is a book that I ended up giving it 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite. However, if we're talking about bingeability, this is a very bingeable book. I think if you connect with the characters a little bit more than I did, you will love it. Even though I wasn't super connected with our main character, Scarlet, the plot had me questioning until the very end. And I ended up picking up the second book because I was like, I just need to know what happens. I need to know where this is going. If you love a main character who is a little assassin, baddie queen, you will love this. If you love training scenes, you will love this. There is an element of just like overall gaslighting in this book. Our love interest is very questionable, not in terms of his hotness. He's very hot, the tension is there, but the whole time you're like, do we like you because you're kind of being a sketchy bitch, but also the way that you talk to Scarlet, I'm kind of into it. Scarlet is a girl who has like 4 men wrapped around her little pinky finger and she walks them like a dog. Girly is dealing with a lot of trauma that resurfaces. We learn a lot about her past throughout this whole book. Her past has a lot of loose ends that start to resurface the further and further we get into this book. It has a lot of dark subject matter. It's also definitely a slow burn as well. So if you like to lose your mind with tension and have to read the second book to get more, you will binge this. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about my absolute newest obsession, Angel's Blood by Nalini Singh. This is an urban paranormal fantasy romance. We have angels, we have vampires, we have archangels, and we have an absolute badass main character who is the best vampire hunter. She gets recruited because of her notoriety by the archangels. They say, we know how good at your job you are, except instead of hunting down a vampire this time, we need you to hunt down an archangel that has gone rogue. And she's like, that's not my job, I don't know how to do that. And they're like, you literally don't have a choice because otherwise we will torture you and kill everyone you love. So she's like, okay. We won't call them her counterpart because she's kind of like working for him. Her boss, let's say, is the hottest archangel. His morality is gone. He is very old. He's like over 300 years old, so he doesn't even remember what morality is. However, the more time he spends around our human main girly pop, it kind of reminds him what it's like to be human. It's definitely a fast burn, I will say that. There's kind of an underlying murder mystery. Our main girly pop also has past trauma that sneaks up, bubbles up, that you don't get an answer to in this one. That will keep you questioning what the heck is going on and is our girly okay and who did this to her. But the hunt and the high stakes of the hunt and the fact that she's a human, but she's hunting archangels who are the most powerful beings in this world. Like, she's so outmatched, you're just terrified for her the entire time. But also you're hanging off of every word, the way that she taunts and has no fear of Raphael, this archangel that hired her. She is so sassy, unapologetically sassy, even though this man could literally smite her where she stands. And then the final books that I will recommend in this bingeable book recommendation video is Bewitched by Laura Thalassa. I will recommend both Bewitched and Bespelled. These books are just unlike any other fantasy romance I have read. They're very witchy. These would be great to read in the fall, but also if you wanted to bring these by the pool or to the beach, I promise you, you won't want to put them down. Our main character, Celine Bowers, is a witch. She's trying to get into this witch academy in the Pacific Northwest. What's crazy about Celine is that she has memory issues. The more that she uses her witchy power, it's eating away at her memories. Our love interest is also an ancient sorcerer man who, it's giving an interesting mix between like millionaire slash billionaire romance, but also he's an ancient sorcerer who believes that in a past life, Celine was his wife, like centuries old wife, who betrayed him, and now he's out for revenge. So not only is she trying to survive her classes, get into her witch academy so she can continue to learn her magic, she also has to watch out for this man who is trying to wreak havoc in her life because he feels betrayed by her, even though she has no idea who this man is. If that doesn't pull you in, I don't know what will. I cannot wait for the third book in the series. This is going to be, I think, a 4-book, maybe a 5-book series. They read like a contemporary romance. Like, even though this is technically paranormal romance, fantasy romance, they read like a contemporary romance. So you read it like that, in the blink of an eye, and then you're going to desperately want more. So my friends, those are all the books that I think you will absolutely binge read. If you've read any of these, loved any of these, please let me know in the comments down below. If you're planning on picking any of these up, please let me know in the comments down below. If you have any bingeable book recommendations, also please leave those. I would love to check them out. I will catch you in the comments and I will see you in my next one. Toodles!